What's up, guys? So today I have a different type of video. It's something you guys aren't very used to seeing me do, but if you follow me on social, you kind of know this about me, and that is, well, one, I like to eat, and two, I like to cook. Yes, I actually do enjoy cooking. And the other day I posted because we got a cold front in. By the way, I live in a part of Texas where it's not cold like all fall or winter long. So when we get our cold fronts, we really like to appreciate them and we really like to soak them in. So when it's cold, I love to make arroz con leche, which is basically rice pudding, a Mexican style of rice pudding, because I know there's a bunch of ways you can actually make rice pudding. But this is the way that I grew up eating it and that I know how I like it and how I feel like most of my family eats it. So, and I always associate it with winter because it's just something that we ate during this time of year. I remember when I was in middle school, my best friend's grandma, who is like the goat of cooking and a bunch of stuff, really, to be honest, but she would always make some during the fall and winter, and she would always make sure to send her with a cup for me as well, and we would eat it hot in like a little styrofoam cup. And I think whenever I eat that, it just reminds me of that point in my childhood, and it just brings back good memories. So I wanted to show you guys how I made it because a lot of you got asked me questions about my recipe and how I make it. And I think what got a lot of people ask me how I make it is because of the consistency. I like mine to be very thick and creamy and rich, and I prefer that for most of my cereals. So let's jump right into it. All right, so here are the ingredients for the arroz con leche or rice pudding. So it's really simple. You're just gonna need some cinnamon sticks, and you're gonna need some long grain white rice, milk of your choice. I would say that most milks, even if it's not dairy milk, is gonna be fine. I found that using this was totally okay. It didn't change the flavor or consistency of the pudding, so I don't know. In fact, I think it might have made it taste better since it, oh no, we got unsweetened. We usually get vanilla, so it was unsweetened, so maybe that's why. It might taste maybe even better if you get the vanilla almond milk, I'm not sure. And then you're going to need the evaporated milk and condensed milk. I have them in these jars because, like I said, most of the recipes that I saw online made a bunch of this, and so I basically cut most of like the original recipe into thirds, so I only used about a third of each of these milks, the evaporated and the condensed. So that's all you need. Oh, and water. So here we have our pot. This is actually a lot bigger than the pot I used to make it in originally, but right now it is being used. My husband has tea and he needs to like prep it, so I'm not gonna mess with his tea because he's very particular about it. So we're just gonna use this big guy. We'll probably barely like even come up to right here with it because this is a way bigger pot than what I need. Remember, this is enough for, I would say, like maybe 2 to 4 servings if you're doing about half a cup cooked per serving. So this is what we'll be using. So the first thing we're going to put in there is the rice, and I haven't turned on the heat yet because I'm going to wait until I have the rice in there with the water. So I'm using a cup of the rice. That's all you're going to need for this, and it makes a pretty good amount, enough for 2 people. If you're making this for a party, then I would go ahead and use the 2 to 3 cups, and you'll have a nice amount to serve everyone. Then we're going to want to put in our water. You want enough water that's just going to barely cover all of the rice. So now I'm going to turn my heat on. I'm going to put this about medium heat and let that get nice and hot. Now we're going to add in our cinnamon sticks. I'm going to add in about 2, even though it is a smaller batch. I think they say 2 to 3 sticks, even for like the larger portion sizes, or the one that makes a larger amount. They use 2 to 3 as well, but I really like mine to have a nice intense, not so intense, but I definitely like to know that my cinnamon flavor is present. So I'm putting 2 sticks in there. This is starting to heat up, and we're gonna let this basically just soak up all the water. We're gonna leave this uncovered. I know we usually cover rice when we're cooking it, but this is just gonna boil, get tender, kind of consistently stirring just to make sure that nothing is getting stuck to the bottom. And most recipes that I saw said to drain the liquid, but to be honest, I let this cook until all the liquid was absorbed. I don't know if that helps with creating a thicker consistency in the long run, but that's what I did. I didn't time it. I literally just eyeballed it and made sure that all the liquid was soaked and that the rice was at the softness to my liking. So that's just how I did it. And in fact, I kind of let it cook longer, or as long as possible, because you don't want the rice to obviously overcook or get like too mushy. But I really want the cinnamon flavor to really be infused into the rice. So I feel like the longer you let that, I feel like the longer you allow that to happen, the more flavor you're gonna get from the cinnamon. I don't know if it's just me or if I'm weird, but like the smell of this, just rice and cinnamon boiling, I love it. I wish there was a candle scented like this. So now you can see that the rice has started to plump up a bit. It's starting to get a little soft. I did add just a teeny bit more water because I want it to be a little bit more tender. I'm trying really hard not to stir too vigorously because I don't want to break up the cinnamon sticks too much, because I do remove them after this part is done. So it's kind of hard to just fish out like really tiny pieces. So I try to keep them as whole as possible while this is still cooking. So probably about maybe another 5 minutes or so. All right, so I've removed the cinnamon sticks, and as you can tell, almost all of the water is gone. It's starting to look really fluffy. It's expanded a lot. So at this point, I'm going to start to add all of the milk. I'm gonna go ahead and take my almond milk, and this is where I feel like you just have to eyeball it. I eyeballed it. So I'm going to pour this in, and I'm going to add a little bit more. I basically want to cover all of the rice again. So I'm going to just pour more in here. I think that'll be good. Maybe just a dash more. Basically, I just wanted to really cover all of the rice. Make sure that it has enough liquid to soak up. So here is our condensed milk, and I'm actually going to add probably like half of what's in here. Wait, this came from like a regular, I believe, 14-ounce can, and like I said, I divided it up into thirds basically. So I'm using about a third of a 14-ounce can for this recipe, for this amount, like to make this amount. This is our condensed milk, and it's sweet naturally, so that is what gives the rice pudding its sweet flavor. And I'm also going to add about half of this. Let me see how much that was. So since it's so thick, a lot of it gets like on the sides, so it really does settle. It doesn't settle until it's laid flat. Same thing, it's about a third of, I believe these are 12-ounce cans. So what, about 4 ounces? And we're just gonna start to mix that all together. And now again, we're gonna let this come to a simmer or boil. I would say between a simmer and a boil. We're gonna leave this uncovered. We're not gonna cover this up. And this is where I feel like the key to the thick consistency comes into play, is being very patient with it. Depending how long you leave this cooking is going to determine how thick it comes out. If you like yours a little bit more soupy, then you're not going to want to cook it as long. If you're like me and you like it to be nice and thick and very pudding-like, then you're going to want to cook this until probably the most absolute last minute before it's maybe too cooked, if that's even possible, because you obviously don't want it to get like really stuck to the sides or the bottom of the pan or anything like that. So I like mine very thick, And I also feel like the more you stir it while it's starting to simmer or boil is gonna help thicken it up faster. So I'm gonna let this get hot again, and I'm gonna just be coming back and stirring it. I would say it's gonna take about 20 to 25 minutes. So it's 4:25 right now. We'll see in those 20 minutes how the consistency changes. All right, now it's starting to boil. You can kind of see here the little boiling. So once it starts to really boil, this is when you want to make sure you are standing by and stirring consistently. The recipe itself is obviously very simple. I feel like anyone can make this. I feel like the hardest part about it is the patience that you need to have. Also, quick note, because I feel like this is important. At this point, I have my stove at a very low setting. It is even halfway before like the first mark, which is like 2 on my stoves. It's like 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 being like one of the highest settings. I have it even below the 2. So you want to keep this pretty low. It's constantly cooking, so it's going to get hot really fast. So that way you guys don't overcook it or burn anything. All right, so we're now 15 minutes into letting this cook. I've been here stirring and stirring. And as you can see, it's getting a lot thicker. You guys, I still like mine thicker than this, so we're not done yet. This is what I like to call the danger zone of the boiling part, because the liquid is becoming thicker. So now every time the pressure from the boil pops up, your liquid can quite possibly splash on your hand, so just be careful. But yeah. We're almost there. I would say maybe like 5 more minutes. All right, we're basically almost coming to the end here. I just love how thick this is coming out. And at this point, I'm actually gonna turn off my heat. And now I'm gonna start to let this cool. And just with the remainder of the heat that will be coming off of the stove, let that do the finishing job. And I'm still just kind of constantly stirring here. All right, in my eyes, this is already done. I don't know about you guys, but I prefer to eat my rice pudding hot. And for some of you who are like, duh, that's how you eat it. I know, that's how I feel. I've always had my rice pudding hot. My husband likes to eat it cold, which I feel like that's just not the true way to eat it. I mean, it's still good cold. You can eat it either way. It's really whatever floats your boat. But that's actually why I like to make it during this time of year, is because I just associate this with colder weather. So I am ready to plate this. So I have my bowl here, and you see the thickness of this, like and then as it's cooling down in your bowl too, it's gonna thicken more. As this cools down, it's gonna just thicken that much more. I'm gonna use my spoon that I used to cook with, because why not? One less dish I have to dirty. And the finishing touch for me is to add some cinnamon on top. Yes. Ta-da! So here you have it. My arroz con leche recipe, nice and thick. Look at that, it's like holding its shape and everything. Now you know how I make it, and enough of a batch to serve and last 2 people for a day or 2, probably 2 days. But if you want to make a big batch, then by all means just up all the ingredients to probably like 3 times what I used, and you'll be good. Don't mind me, I'm not wearing any makeup right now because I don't want to. So, but here's the true test, and quite frankly, the best part of any cooking videos. I've seen a couple cooking videos and they don't include this, and I'm like, are you crazy? Like, some people don't taste, like they don't do like a little clip of them tasting the food, and I'm like, what? Like, how am I supposed to trust you? Does it even taste good? But here we go. Oh, it smells so good. A1, baby. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is something totally new to my channel. If you guys liked this and you want to see more cooking videos, I think like a year ago, I said I wanted to do cooking videos on my channel because I genuinely like to cook. I like to experiment in the kitchen. I'm not like a chef, or I don't think I'm particularly great at it, but it's fun for me. I actually enjoy it. So if you guys want to see more, let me know. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know if you're gonna eat this or if you're gonna try it. If you do normally eat this or not, I wanna know. I think in the, especially Hispanic culture, it's very, very, very popular. So yeah. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me, and I'll see you guys in my next video.